Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again for joining us on this Friday afternoon. I think this is 3 Fridays in a row. It's becoming a habit. So we're really excited to be with you as always. And when we always talk about when Justin and I get together and what are we going to talk about for the week, when we come up with sales stuff, it's like we have to remind ourselves that this is maybe a 30-40 minute meeting and not a 2-day meeting. So we're really excited to talk about this. As you know, we love sales and all things of it, and really like to talk with other salespeople and people who are looking to get into it. If you were to ask anybody throughout my life, either as a kid or as an adult, they'd tell you that I'm a pretty good salesman. As a matter of fact, when I first left the University of Hawaii at my first position with a real company, my location manager went and called some of the people from the university that I went to, and he knew some of them as well, and kind of did a little background check on me and kind of asked around about Nick Castro. And one of my professors, probably my least favorite professors, told him, well, he's a really good talker. He didn't tell him that I was a really good student or that I knew my stuff. He said he's a really smooth talker. And I've always been the one to do the talking when someone needed to be convinced or when an idea needed to be sold. I was kind of the one to always do that talking. And as I got older, I started working. I naturally gravitated into sales. And my first job was selling computers and fax machines back in the day and printers with a office superstore in California. And it was really fun. It was really eye-opening. It was kind of my first experience into sales. And then I started small businesses, and you have to sell to customers. And I've worked for 5-star hotels down in Waikiki Beach, selling drinks by the pool, as difficult as you might think that might be. But I did have to sell, myself a little bit and sell my services there. And, Justin and I have sold millions of dollars worth of products, and we've sold millions of dollars worth of products and services all over the globe. And, we're sales pros, and we don't say that arrogantly, but we've achieved a really high level of success in sales all along the way from our earliest beginnings. And Justin, just like me, we've tried everything. We've sold everything, right? We did the multi-level marketing. We did the newest, Justin did some soda drink, and I've sold, these products from this new program or whatever the newest, coolest thing was. We were like, hey, this is going to change the world we want in, right? And we thought we were good enough to do it. And so we've experienced that. And it seems like, sales is everywhere. Nowadays, we're being sold to absolutely in every aspect, every avenue of our life. Think about it: on TV, social media, radio, billboards. We're even being sold to while we're buying stuff. So how many of you have been offered a credit card when you're checking out at your local, department store, or maybe you're checking out at Shields or something, and they offer you a credit card? You're being sold to as you're paying for things, right? And the same thing at the grocery store. They ask you to donate to this fund or that fund as you're paying for your groceries. We're constantly being sold to. And few people know this, but several years ago, the automobile industry went to the telecom, industry and said, hey, we need more bandwidth in our vehicles. And they kind of sold this whole proposition based on the fact it was all about safety. They needed to, it would be easier for Ford and GM to track a car when there was an accident if they had more bandwidth in the vehicle. Now, there was others on the other side that argued that the main reason they wanted more bandwidth was because they want to be able to sell to you from the screen on your dash. Think about it. They want to be able to sell the advertising rights to Starbucks or McDonald's. And think about if you were driving down the road, going 80 miles an hour through a town on the highway, and suddenly a Starbucks ad comes across the screen in your dashboard, and it says, $4 off a caramel frappa, whatever the heck it is. Imagine getting that advertisement in the car. We're constantly being sold to, and dang good and well, if you get $5 off a $10 coffee drink at Starbucks, you're going to pull off. You're absolutely going to get that $10 drink, right? And believe it or not, you're a salesperson too, right? You're always selling. And if you were with us last week, we talked a lot about how we're always selling. We're always selling our kids on the importance of going to bed earlier or eating better. I don't know about you, I have a 14-year-old daughter. I'm not sure if she ever eats. And we're always selling them on, you need good grades. You need to get good grades. You need to study. You need to sleep more. You need to work out more. You need to be healthy to grow up and be this functioning adult. We're always selling. And some of you are in the business of selling, working for someone in some capacity. You are selling. Now, the problem is most of us aren't good at it. Most of us aren't very good at it at all. Maybe you've had some success, right? Maybe you've done some good things, but you've probably made several mistakes. And along the way, those mistakes may have cost you hundreds, thousands, and for some of you may have cost you millions of dollars over a career. Now, we aren't good at sales because we keep making the same mistakes, right? We aren't good at sales because we keep doing the same things over and over that failed. And we can't find our way out of that most times. So what I want to do today is just sort of look at a few things, a few of the top 5 or top 4 things that we know Justin and I have looked up and we've known from working with hundreds and thousands of salespeople all over the globe. There's a common occurrence. Every salesperson seems to be going through the same thing, no matter what their level of success is. So I wanted to go through a few of those with you here today. And the first one I wanted to talk about was the follow-up. All right, this is Justin and I's probably our favorite thing to talk about is the follow-up. And most people just don't follow up. Did you know that 80% of sales requires 5 follow-up calls? But 44% of salespeople give up after the first call? Right? It takes an average of 8 calls to secure a deal. And almost half the people are giving up after the first call. If there's one thing Justin and I talk about the most with anybody in sales who might be struggling or who wants to do better, it's follow up. You're constantly being required to follow up. And if you're not, someone else is. And there's about a million other stats that we can throw at you there about who's actually getting the sale. It's usually the person who follows up or the person who responds quickly. The second most common mistake that salespeople are making is that they think that sales is just a job. Sales isn't a job. It's a performance-based skill. Just like an NFL football player or basketball player or baseball player or an Olympic athlete, right? Salespeople, or at least the top salespeople, know that they have to constantly up their game if they want to win, right? If they want to lose, fine, stay the course. But if you want to win in sales, it's a skills-based position. You're constantly training, constantly getting better. We talk to salespeople all the time that tell us that they've been in sales for a decade or two, and they know it all. I've got this pretty well figured out. I don't need any more sales training. Don't talk to me about sales. And then when we get to talk to them, we ask Justin and I love to ask questions. So we'll ask them, well, what does it take to be a top salesperson? And most of them tell you, it's all about relationships, right? Everyone just buys from people. It's about building rapport. Most of the time, when we ask people, what is rapport? They often tell us, it's finding something in common, right? We both like to ice fish. We both like to go to the lake in the summer. That's not necessarily building rapport. That's building commonalities. And there's a very big difference between rapport and commonalities. If you want to be a top salesperson in your class, it takes a lot of work, right? It takes a ton of work to continually craft your sales pitch, to continually get better and understand how you like to sell and how your buyers like to buy. The third one I wanted to bring up today was cold calling. How many of you, I've been looking for my phone, it's down here. How many of you love to pick this thing up and just randomly call people? I'm sure this is Justin's favorite thing to do in the world is just, if he's sitting around for 5 or 10 minutes and he's bored, he'll just pick up the phone and just dial a number, right? Hey, this is Justin, fresh talent. How many of you look at this thing like it's a 10,000 pound anvil? You can't seem to get it off the desk, right? Even though we know we need to make the cold call. It's one of our favorite things to do, and most people dread it. And why do they dread it? It's because we've been conditioned to believe that salespeople are bad. We're conditioned to believe that we're just all sleazy car salesmen. If you remember, I'm old enough to remember that there used to be a phone in the kitchen, that was attached to the wall, and it had that slinky cord that was attached to it. But I remember my mom would always pick up the phone and hang it up. Pick up the phone and hang it up immediately. She wouldn't say hi, who is this, nothing. Pick up, hang up. And it usually happened right around dinner time. And we're always like, what the heck's going on there? She knew it was probably some telemarketer, right? It was probably someone trying to sell her into insurance, or, to give to this foundation or that foundation. She didn't even let it get there. Pick up, hang up. Sometimes she'd just leave it off the hook and we just eat, because they knew at 6 o'clock that mom and dad were home from work, and that's the time to call, right? They knew when and where to make those calls. Nowadays, most of us don't pick up our phone because we don't want to renew our auto policy, or what, our what do they call that? It's the help me out, Justin.
The what? Your warranty?
The warranty, that's what it is.
Yeah, your car warranty.
Your car warranty's up. I don't even have a car. I got a bicycle. Anyway, so everybody can really understand that. But cold calling is one of those things that we all, most of us don't like to do. And it's really difficult. And if you don't have a really clear objective, if you don't know what you're going to say and when you're going to say it, cold calling can be extremely scary. I mean, it's a scary prospect to pick up the phone. And the fact that you have to have some pretty hard skin, because 9 out of 10 times someone's going to hang up the phone on you. That's our favorite thing. We like to call back. Anyway, so number 4 would be lack of understanding of a sales process. Now, Justin and I have been through hundreds of sales training. We've talked to organizations who have told us about the sales trainings that they use, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. I remember as a sales guy going through a lot of sales training, and they all seem to talk about this sales process. There wasn't ever a meeting where somebody didn't bring up, you've got to follow the sales process. Nobody ever gave us a process. Nobody ever gave us the A to Z. There was no roadmap. They just talked about a process, but we never really fully developed one. Or they would talk about this thing called the buyer's journey. How are you going to take your customer from here to there? Now, all of us can really understand a buyer's journey, but what do you say? How do you know what to say and when to say it in that journey to get your buyer from here to there? Most of us have no idea. And many of us weren't taught that there is this thing called a sales process. And if you follow it, you are significantly more successful than those who just wing it. And winging it should be on my list today, but I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole and get on a soapbox. I'll save that for Justin and I's private conversations. But winging it is something we hear all the time. We ask salespeople all the time, do you got a bona fide sales script? Oh yeah, I know what to say. Yeah, what do you say? Well, it all depends. It all depends. It depends on who I'm talking to. Really what they're saying is they don't have a script. They don't know what they're going to say. And lastly, I'll talk about this 5th mistake that most salespeople make, is that most salespeople really don't know where to start when it comes to getting better. Right? Where do you go to get better? As I said before, there's thousands and thousands of sales trainers out there. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Almost all of them are incredibly expensive. Justin and I know we've paid for some very expensive sales training. All of them are expensive. Only some of them are good. And even less of them are actually relevant to what you sell. Now, if you really want to get better, if you want to learn the secrets of the ultra successful, you're in the right place. Just stay with us here. Stay with us on these Friday calls. We're going to develop a group that salespeople can join with us. And this isn't, we're not going to be training you. You don't have to come to a place, but just stay with us a little bit. We're going to develop some things that I can guarantee you will help you sell more and increase your business, because that's what we all want to do, right? In sales, it's all about increasing revenue. And if you're not making money, you're closing doors. Now, if you're like me, or if you're like I used to be when I first got into sales, or many of the people that we talk to, you wake up with this drive. You have total intent to grow your business, to sell something today, right? I woke up and I wanted to sell something today. Maybe the night before, you print out all the spec sheets. You got your nice little binder all set up. You got your legal pad. You got 6 pens and one in your shirt. You got all your testimonials ready. You send out all the emails. You create some really cool social media ads. You wake up early. You're ready to pick up the phone and start dialing, and you're going to do it. But then something happens. Life, right? Life happens. Maybe it's a kid. Maybe someone gets sick. Maybe a family member gets sick. Nowadays, it's happened all too often, right? Or maybe just, something happened at school. We got to go. Maybe work calls. Or maybe you start making concessions for yourself like most people do. And they say, you know what? I worked really hard to get to this moment. I'm going to go have lunch. I'm going to go meet with the guys or the girls. I'm going to give myself a night off. I've been hammering away at this for 2 weeks, learning all the products and all the systems. You make these concessions for yourselves. You know what that really is? That's really just doubt. That's you doubting your ability. That's that fear, what we call the boogeyman. That's always there. It never goes away. The fear of, I don't know what I'm going to say when my prospect or customer answers this phone. I don't know what I'm going to say when they give me some sort of objection. And they're going to give you an objection. So we start to tell ourselves, and we start to make excuses for ourselves and say, this is why I don't have to pick up the phone. This is why I don't have to call today. Even though you've gotten everything ready, right? I've always been a salesman, but I wasn't always good. And Justin and I know what your next 10 mistakes are going to be, and we know exactly how to prevent them. Here's the 2 biggest mistakes you're probably experiencing now, or you will in the very near future. One is you're focusing too much on your product. You may know your product, what the product does, where it fits, the cost structure, the financing, the cost of your product compared to your competitor. You may know all of that, right? But do you know how to translate that into sales? Have you ever met somebody who knows everything about their product, but can't have a sales conversation? And we know what sales is at the end of the day. Justin and I know without a doubt what sales is. And if you don't, it won't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter how well it's priced. If you can't convey that to your buyer, it's not going to matter. If you don't know the exact words in every sales conversation to take the prospect from here to there, it's not going to matter. And number 2 is you're going into every sales conversation blind. You don't understand how you like to sell, and you certainly don't have enough information about how your buyer likes to buy. Right? One of the most the largest mistake that most of us make is going into the sales process blind without having those 2 bits of information.
Yeah, and I love that you're looking at those mistakes, right? When you say, hey, we know exactly these next 10 mistakes that you're going to make. When we first were presented with that idea with our mentor, who actually has sold $750 million in products and services, which is hard to believe if you really think about it. But when we start talking about these mistakes, if you could find out what these mistakes were, I know for us specifically 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, think about where you'd be at today. Think about the success that you would have. Now, obviously, sales is something that Nick and I are incredibly passionate about. We are incredibly passionate about sales. And if you think about it for a second, sales makes the world go around. Truly. I mean, think about it. Nothing happens until a sale occurs. And our mentor shared this with us, and we absolutely love this quote, this statement, that sales at its highest level is the transference of emotion. Sales at its highest level is the transference of emotion. If somebody's going to come in and they're going to buy a dishwasher, do you think there's an emotion behind that? If they're not building a new house, maybe it's an old house they live in, it broke. They want that new dishwasher. Or a car. I think about the emotions that take place when you're buying a car. Sometimes you're nervous. Sometimes you're excited. Sometimes you may be unsure about the payment that you're going to have slapped down in front of you. Sales at its highest level is the transference of emotion. And we buy into that. We adhere to that. So whether you're selling an idea, whether you're selling a product, whether you're selling a service, or maybe whether you're selling to your spouse, your boss, your friends, a prospect, sales keeps things moving. It keeps us all growing. And sales is all about finding better solutions for problems that people face and challenges. You're selling a solution. You're helping them solve a problem. And then really what it's doing is it's helping those people implement their own solutions. So that's really where we want to help you with it. As Nick shared with you, there's been far too many sales trainings that we've been a part of where they want to teach you everything and they guarantee that these are going to increase results. And we're going to give you all the details and really talk about your product. And well, you know your product. You know your service. You know what you're doing. But really, when it boils down to it, the only reason someone would want to be here, join us today, join us last week, join us next week, it's because you know that you have the potential to achieve more. You have the potential to achieve or gain more results in your life and your business. So that you need help, right? We all need help. We need help getting there. And maybe you're at least acknowledging that it's going to take some experience to help you. It's going to take some experience to help you with that process. For some of us, to say that we have a problem and identify that and then ask for help, my personality, and I know Nick would agree with me here, because we both have the same personality. If you've ever taken the disc, we are very high Ds, very dominant. We oftentimes have problems asking for help with things. We got it. We'll figure it out. I know how to increase sales. But truth be told, we need help. We needed help. Again, we're going to give you just a quick overview here today. And that's been the intention here, is to give you some quick bullet points, give an overview on our sales impacts and script writing workshop. And obviously, Nick had shared with you, we have both generated over $60 million in sales collectively. And this has been over the course of our careers. Nick has sold products and services all over the country, as have I. Nick's even went international. We've sold things from corn seed to dishwashers to cars. We've trained people, thousands of people, on how to do and have more, to get more out of life. If you're willing to lean in, if you want to do what we can help train you to do, you're absolutely going to change the results in your life. So let me ask you this, and I know I'd share with some of you that joined us early that we're going to ask some questions. There's a chat function that is here on Zoom. Put a question there, or maybe answer these questions. If you look at your preferred selling style, first off, have you ever identified your preferred selling style? Have you ever identified how you like to sell? And if you would, in the chat function, really quick, just say yes, or just let us know. If you've ever identified how you prefer to sell, what's your best attributes, how you like to go into any sales conversation. Just throw yes in the chat function if you could for us. or no, maybe you don't know your preferred selling style. So what do I mean by that? I'm just going to give you an example really quick. Are you a fast-paced sales type person? Do you like to get in? Do you like to get the sale going? Do you like to close it in one deal? Is that your preferred style? Maybe you like to joke around with the customer. Maybe you like to have some fun with them. I see some people coming in. Yes. Somebody said, I've never thought about it. Great. I love that. Maybe you overstate facts. Maybe somebody comes in to buy something from you, or you go to them to sell something to them, and you just want to give them facts. You want to tell them why this product is so great. You want to tell them why they need this or how it's going to improve their life. But what if we told you that your success with any customer, it doesn't matter who it is decided within the first 4 seconds? Your success with any customer will be decided in the first 4 seconds. And with 100% certainty, you will solidify a sale with your customer within the first 4 seconds. And the way that you can do that is with rapport. Nick had talked about rapport. You must not break rapport with your customer in the first 4 seconds. So really, how does this work, right? What does this look like? Well, it's understanding how your customer prefers to buy your products or service. It's how your customer wants to buy from you. Now, we've all heard the golden rule, right? We all know the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. We've heard that from a young age. Good. That's great. My mom always used to tell me that. And I thank her for that. But she's wrong. My mom is wrong. And the reason why is because we're going to share with you here. We adhere to the platinum rule. And the platinum rule simply says treat others how they want to be treated. Treat others how they want to be treated. In other words, sell your products or your services to them how they want to buy it. Show up in their eyes on how they want to buy. It's that simple. It's that simple. But we oftentimes get, well, is it? Is it really that simple? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Our Sales Impact Workshop, it's actually going to help you take a deeper dive into these 4 areas. The first one is identifying your preferred style, your preferred selling style. I know some of you put in there, yes, you know your preferred selling style. But really what this does is helps you understand your sales strengths and your limitations. If you know your sales style, that's great. In fact, we've had this workshop in front of many organizations. And what's interesting is most people say, yep, that's me. But they don't adhere to that. They don't sell how they prefer to sell. And we're going to get into that here in just a second. But what this workshop does, it also helps you learn how to connect with a potential buyer and really find out what makes them tick. Really find out what makes them tick. The other thing is it's going to use we have this matrix of customer buying styles. And really what this does is we're going to help you learn how to sell in every type of situation to every type of person. Every situation. So if you think about, if you can identify what makes somebody tick, and you can identify what and how they like to buy, do you think that would increase your chances of selling to them? Nick and I would absolutely say yes. And lastly, you're going to receive a detailed sales impact report. And really what this does, it helps you get a clear picture on how to improve your sales results and your performance. It's different. Not many of you have probably been through some type of sales training like that. And really, if you think about it, that's just not enough for one day. If you're thinking, yeah, geez, that sounds like a lot, you're right. It is. So we've also created a second day. And this second day is dedicated to mastering the art of sales scripts. Mastering the art of sales scripts. Again, I know you guys have used the chat function here today. Has anybody, if you would, in the chat function, do you have a sales script? Do you have a sales script? Don't worry. We're not going to ask you to jump up here and give it to us. We just want to know, if you have a sales script, go ahead and type it in the chat function as yes or no. Simply that. Just let us know where you're at. We're curious to know if you use a sales script. So when we ask this question, there's two things that happen. One, people say yes. And two, people say no. Simple, right? Yes or no. But for those that say yes, I'm just looking to see if anybody's going to throw anything in there if they use a sales script or not. We're not calling you out. This is a safe space, just so you know. We just want to know a yes or a no if you use sales scripts. Scripts changed my career. I love that. Nick shared that it changed his career. Anybody else, yes or no? But when somebody says to us, yes, I use a sales script. Yes, we use sales scripts here. That's great. That's outstanding. We'd love to hear. So Dave says no. Okay. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for the input. So when people say yes, they use a sales script, then we ask them this. All right, let's hear it. Let's hear your sales script. Guess what happens next? Abandon ship. People start jumping. What? I didn't know that was going to happen. I don't know you're going to say that. They freeze up. They don't know what to say. And usually they stutter through their sales script. That's fine. That's fine. At least they took the opportunity to give it. So really, if you think about sales scripting, if you do or don't use it, how good are you at your sales script? Because really, the fact of the matter is that sales scripting is a very critical part of the sales process. And as Nick shared earlier, what he said to you is that if you walk into the conversation not understanding where to take somebody, he talked about this roadmap, a blueprint, how to take somebody through a sales process, you're most likely going to lose out. Now, maybe not forever, but you may, that season, that time, you may lose out. In our sales scripting workshop, we're going to discuss tonalities. We're going to discuss how you talk with your customer, the inflections in your voice. And if you're selling products or services over the phone, I can guarantee you that tonality is your friend. You know, we also talked about mirroring. If you're standing in front of somebody and they cross their arms during a sales conversation, do you cross your arms? If somebody gets excited and they're using their hands to talk a lot, do you mirror that? That's why tonalities over the phone is so incredibly important. We're also going to talk about the speed of which you deliver. If you talk to somebody and they're very fast-paced over the phone, chances are they're likely a dominant person like myself or Nick. Their D in the disc is coming out. We're also going to talk about overcoming objections. Everybody talks about objections. We all talk about objections. We get objections every day. We are always given objections. And that's really the reason behind that is because somebody's uncertain or unsure about your product or service. You haven't really dug into their pain points. You haven't identified their real problem. We're going to talk about double taps. Some of you may have never heard of a double tap. It's about increasing your sales. I'm going to give you a little nugget. If you've never heard of a double tap, if you call somebody, if you call a customer and they don't answer, you leave them a voicemail, but you also follow up with an email immediately afterwards. Don't wait a day. Don't wait next week. Call them. And as soon as you finish up with that call, you send them an email. And one of my best ones yet, the subject line, leave voicemail. Just leave voicemail in the subject line. Somebody's going to click on that. They're going to open it up. I promise you. You do that more often, it'll increase, it'll double your chances of closing a sale with that individual. We're also going to talk about the difference between what is an annoying salesperson and what a persistent salesperson is. There's a difference. I can remember I was called by an individual from the Grant Cardone office down in Miami. And I had seen the call come through several times on my phone. It's coming from Miami. I don't need to talk about anybody in Miami. So finally one day I answered it. And I tell you what, he was persistent, absolutely, because he called me many times, but he was also annoying. He was also annoying. He was trying a very high pressure sales approach, and a tactic that some people use to think that if I just pressure you enough, if I just give you all this information on why you need my product, you're going to buy it. But what he didn't understand is that I am a high D. My disc says, I don't want all of this detail and all this information. Our mentor says, give me the baby, not the labor. I don't care. Tell me, if I join this program, it's going to give me an extra $200,000 a year in my pocket. Now we're talking. It's going to help my company grow by $3 or $4 million. That's important. But he doesn't know that because he didn't take the approach to understand how I like to buy my products and services. It's really important when we start to think about how we show up in the eyes of our buyer. It's really critically important. Now, again, Nick and I, we thank you for joining us. It's obviously we're offering this to you for reasons to help you identify certain areas in your life or your sales process. But we really look forward to our next session, because next week we're going to be discussing how to sell more products. But before we go to that, I want you to do this. We've created a Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group. It's called Influencing Profits. In Influencing Profits, again, we're not just talking about putting more money in your pocket, although we will talk about that. But we're talking about how to get more out of life, how to do and have more in your life. And that's through personal and professional growth and development. We oftentimes don't take enough time to set aside time to grow. Are we growing through life or going through life? And that's why we've created this exclusive community. We just launched it. We just created it. So jump over to, if you're on Facebook, we'd encourage you to jump over to Facebook here at some point today and go to the Influencing Profits. Just search Influencing Profits and the group will pop up. And join that group. Join our group. We want to help you through the growth process. We want to help you get more out of life. We want you to help you do and have more. And that platform, we're going to really transition from doing all of these where you register and whatnot. But what we're doing is we're going to transition all of our content, all of our weekly check-ins to that platform. And that's where we're going to really engage with everybody. So again, Influencing Profits, it's a Facebook group. It's a private group. And in there, we're going to be able to share ideas. It's an open platform for us to kind of work together through things. So Nick and I, again, we thank you for joining us here today, and certainly look forward to having you next week as we talk about how to get more out of selling. Take care. Thank you very much.